There are books that wait, not for time, nor hands, nor ink, but for the quiet moment when someone notices. For a story cannot be forgotten until it is first known. But what happens to a chronicle, with no keeper, no name to guide its pages, no voice to bind its memory? It does not sleep. It listens. And once it is seen, it begins to remember everything you never told it. Clara Everhart wasn't prone to superstition, but she understood the weight of abandoned places. A city archivist by trade, she specialized in dead institutions, shuttered courts where justice had rotted into paperwork, raised asylums where madness had been catalogued in meticulous detail, chapels condemned by mildew and the particular kind of silence that follows unanswered prayers. Her profession demanded detachment. You catalogue the ruin. You don't listen to its whispers. So when she was dispatched to St. Bertram's Priory, a place sealed since 1833 after reports of mass hallucinations and what the official records termed unsanctioned scripture, Clara packed her tape recorder, her carbon pencils, a box of white cotton gloves, and a rational mind. There is no such thing as a cursed book, she reminded herself as she crossed the moss-choked threshold, stepping over fragments of Latin carved into the doorframe. The words were too weathered to read, but they felt like a warning. The October wind followed her inside, carrying the scent of dying leaves and something else, something like old parchment left too long in damp places. The Priory's nave was skeletal. Cracked pews lined the aisle like broken ribs, their wood blackened by some long-ago fire. The pulpit had been devoured by ivy so thoroughly it resembled a green wound in the wall. Stained glass windows, once depicting the stations of the cross, now showed only abstract bruises where the lead had warped and the colours had bled into each other. Clara moved methodically, photographing each section, noting the architectural details that would matter to the demolition crew: Gothic arches, limestone foundations, evidence of 19th century modifications. Nothing supernatural, nothing that couldn't be explained by time and neglect. But beneath the altar, hidden behind a rotted panel that crumbled at her touch, she found the vault door. The lock had been melted shut, not by fire, but by something that had hardened into an amber-coloured substance. Wax, perhaps, mixed with rust, and what looked disturbingly like dried blood. The metal screamed when she pried it open with her crowbar, a sound that echoed through the empty nave like a church bell tolling backwards. Clara descended stone steps worn smooth by countless feet, her flashlight beam dancing across walls carved with symbols she didn't recognize. The air grew colder with each step, and thicker, as if the darkness itself had weight. The chamber beneath was windowless, choked with chalk dust that swirled in her light like disturbed ghosts. Chains crisscrossed the floor in patterns that seemed almost ritualistic, not random, but deliberate, purposeful, as if they had once bound something that required very specific restraint. At the centre of the room stood a pedestal of black stone, carved from a single block and worn smooth by handling. Upon it, a book, unmarked, unbound by any visible clasps or locks, no title, no emblem, no ecclesiastical seal. Clara approached slowly, her footsteps echoing in the confined space. The book was larger than she'd expected, roughly the size of a medieval psalter, bound in leather so dark it seemed to absorb her flashlight's beam. She touched its cover with one gloved finger. The leather felt damp, though when she pulled her hand away, the glove was dry. She opened it carefully, expecting the brittle resistance of ancient pages. Instead, it opened smoothly, as if it had been waiting. The first page was blank, The second, blank. The third, also blank. Clara flipped through dozens of pages, all pristine, all empty. Not a single mark or stain. The paper was thick, creamy, and unmarked by time, as if it had been made yesterday. Her brows furrowed. In her experience, blank books in sealed chambers usually meant one of two things. Either the contents had been deliberately erased, or the book had never been used at all. "Strange," she murmured, setting her tape recorder on the pedestal beside the book. She pressed record and began speaking aloud for the archive. October 15th, 2:47 p.m. Unidentified folio discovered beneath altar vault of St. Bertram's Priory. Approximately 200 pages, all blank. Binding lacks sigils or maker's marks, possibly unfinished or ceremonial. No evidence of erasure or damage. She paused, studying the open page in her flashlight beam. That's when she noticed it. The page she'd just been looking at. It was no longer blank. In elegant, flowing script, as if written by a skilled hand, the following words had appeared. "The archivist speaks. She does not realize the Chronicle has already begun." Clara jerked back, her flashlight beam wavering. She looked at her tape recorder, rewound it, and played back her own words. They were exactly as she'd spoken them, but the book had written them differently, more precise, more knowing. "Coincidence," she whispered, though her voice shook slightly. "Chemical reaction. Heat-activated ink." She turned to the next page. Blank. Deliberately, testing her hypothesis, she spoke again. "The book appears to respond to vocalization." She watched the page. Nothing. Then, slowly, as if invisible fingers were guiding an invisible pen, new text began to appear. "The archivist tests me. She does not yet understand that I am testing her." Clara's breath caught. She flipped backward. The first entry was still there, the ink appearing perfectly dry as if it had been written decades ago. She grabbed her camera and photographed both pages, then turned to a fresh blank page and spoke more carefully. "My name is Clara Everhart. I am a certified archivist with the Municipal Records Department." The page remained blank for a long moment. Then, Clara Everhart, born December 3rd, 1987. Mother, Sarah Everhart, disappeared June 15th, 1993. Father, unknown. The archivist carries many blanks in her own story. Clara stumbled backward, her flashlight clattering to the floor. In the rolling beam she saw the book's pages flutter, as if stirred by an invisible wind. How could it know about her mother? That information wasn't in any public record. Sarah Everhart had vanished so completely that sometimes Clara wondered if she'd ever existed at all. "How do you know that?" she demanded. The page she'd been reading flickered, the text rearranging itself. "All stories are connected. Your mother's disappearance was written in another chronicle. I remember what others have forgotten." Clara ran. She made it to the vault door before realizing she'd left her equipment behind. The rational part of her mind, the part trained in academic skepticism, insisted she return for her recorder and camera, evidence, documentation, proof. But when she descended the stairs again, the book was closed, and there was a new book beside it, identical in every way, except for the title now embossed in gold on its spine. The Chronicle of Clara Everhart. That night, in her motel room 12 miles from the Priory, Clara dreamt of a door with 7 locks and a voice behind it, whispering her name in reverse. She woke with the taste of old paper in her mouth and the feeling that someone had been watching her sleep. She returned the next day, and the next. Each visit, the Chronicle grew more responsive. It wrote what she described, then what she felt, then things she had not said aloud, fears she'd never articulated, memories she'd tried to forget, thoughts she'd kept locked away, even from herself. The Chronicle only writes what is remembered, she muttered on her 5th visit, speaking to the empty chamber, to which it replied before her eyes, "So long as someone watches, I will be remembered. And now, someone else is watching too." Clara looked around the empty vault. Who? The one reading this? She laughed, but it was a hollow sound. There's no one here but me. The page shimmered, and new text appeared. Clara Everhart believes she is alone, but stories are never truly alone. They exist in the space between the telling and the listening, between the writing and the reading. Someone is always watching. Dear watcher, this chronicle was always meant for you. By the 7th day, Clara was no longer cataloguing. She was confessing. She told the book about her mother's disappearance, how no records of Sarah Everhart existed, no photographs, no birth certificate, no social security number. How she'd once found a story as a child about a woman in a forest who left no footprints, and she was sure it had been about her mother. The book responded, "She was written once, then unwritten, erased from one chronicle to make room in another, but not by me." "By who, then?" Clara whispered. "The previous keeper, the one who came before, the one who left this chronicle empty, waiting for someone new to fill it." Clara tried burning it. She brought matches, lighter fluid, even a small torch from her toolkit, but when she lit the flame, the book's pages fluttered and the fire went out. Not blown out, simply extinguished, as if the light itself had been absorbed. She tried leaving. The hallway outside the vault now extended forever, lined with doors that hadn't been there before. Her phone showed no signal. Her voice recorder played only static when she tried to replay her notes. Except once. At minute 7:11 it played something else entirely. A whisper, distorted and reversed. When she played it backwards, the message was clear. "Entry 17 is watching back." "Who are you talking to?" Clara asked aloud, staring at the book. The chronicle replied, "The one reading this, the one who has been watching from the beginning, the one who will become the new keeper." She ripped out a page, watched it crumble to dust in her hands, but when she looked back at the book, the page was intact, as if it had never been removed. She tried cutting it with her knife. The blade passed through the pages without resistance, as if they were made of mist. She bled on it, pricked her finger, and let 3 drops fall onto the open page. Nothing happened. A story with no keeper will choose the first eyes that linger too long, and some eyes cannot look away. On her final day in the vault, Clara tried to seal it again. She found the book closed, resting peacefully on its pedestal, but there was a new title etched onto the spine in letters that seemed to shift and writhe when she looked at them directly. The Chronicle, without a keeper. Inside, only a single entry remained, written in her own handwriting, though she had never touched a pen to its pages. Clara Everhart never existed. She was a story I wrote to bring the real one closer. But you are real, and you watched, and now you must choose. Close this chronicle and walk away, or become its new keeper. But remember, once you choose, the choice cannot be undone. The chronicle remembers everything, including you. There are many chronicles in this world, some with names, some with locks, some with memory yet to bloom. But one above all must be feared, the one that writes as it reads, the one that chooses its own keeper. And now, dear watcher, it has remembered you. We remember the watchers. We remember their names. We remember where they live.